here today talking to an SME in the Southampton area. Alex from Way Ahead is going to talk to us a bit more about why apprenticeships have worked for him. So Alex, over to you. Can you tell us a bit more about your business and what you do and where you're based, etc.?
Okay, hello, yeah, my name's Alex Grant. I'm company director along with one of my colleagues for a small organisation that runs 3 day centres for adults with severe learning disabilities across the city of Southampton, and we have about typically when it's not pandemic, we have about 80 to 90 different people accessing the day service, and then we've also got a small respite unit that provides respite for parents and carers. That's a 3-bed unit, again that's in Southampton. So our primary aim is to provide meaningful occupation and activities for adults with learning difficulties and to provide respite.
Fantastic. So obviously we're talking about apprenticeship, it's National Apprenticeship Week. So how many apprentices do you currently have in your team, and what sort of courses and levels are they doing?
Okay. So when you say apprentices, you mean all trainees now, don't you? Not just
all trainees, anyone who's enrolled on an apprenticeship.
It did take me a little while to get my head around that, and apprentice is the 16-year-old just coming straight from their apprentice. So it took me a while to get just used to the new terminology, but actually we've got a staff team of 30 altogether. And it's been brilliant. So when I first arrived, I've been here sort of just over 2.5 years. We had really high staff, the organisation had really high staff turnover. And one of the things I wanted to do was, just because I came from a supported employment background and from a training background, I wanted to try and improve the sort of staff's opportunities and reduce the amount of staff turnover. So currently we've got 2 people who are doing their level 2. We've had 10 people who've gone through on their level 3. I've got 1 person on an ILM level 3. I've had 2 on a 5, and one of those has gone on to another job, which is great. So they've had a career development. And I've got 3 people now who want to go on and do further levels of study. So for us, having an apprentice is brilliant. It's created stability in the team. People feel invested in. I mean, historically, social care is not a well-paid area of work, it's not a well-paid vocation. So one of my things was, well, how can we invest in staff in different ways? And actually, if you help staff to grow and develop and you help them to train and learn, then that's another way of just adding something to them for their job role. And so that's reduced staff turnover. We've got more skilled, more experienced, better knowledge in the staff team. And one of the things that if you said to me what's the single best thing, the single best thing is that we've been able to do a cohort of learners. And so what's been really good is working alongside our training provider, we've been able to have a cohort of learners go through, and they've been able to support each other through the process. And some of our apprentices haven't been in education. I helped someone with the maths, preparing a bit for their maths the other week, and they haven't been in education or taken a formal exam since 1986. So for them to return back into that sort of learning environment and to do an exam was a huge step, but it's really good because you can see people's confidence grow and develop. And initially they're a bit hesitant. There's a few people that need a bit more support than others, but actually once they get used to the system and what they've got to do and what's expected of them, you've really seen people sort of change, particularly around confidence and just their ability to do their job. So yeah, for us it's been really good as an organisation.
There's so many benefits, and you were able to just list them off the top of your head, so that just shows how implemented apprenticeships are to you. So this might be an obvious question, but would you think about implementing apprenticeships again, either recruiting new apprentices or enrolling staff again?
Absolutely. So one of the things I think is quite good is if you've got people that want to learn, there's a motivation there. So if I've got people who come in, and actually from the outset the expectation is if you join this organisation, this is a learning organisation, so there's an expectation that you will grow and develop. I think you get perhaps a little bit different type of staff, that's someone who wants to progress, wants to develop. And actually, there's always going to be high staff turnover in this field. Well, actually I've been able to reduce that because people feel invested in. But for me, if someone goes on to another job because they're getting paid more or they've had a promotion, then you've still played a part in that journey. They go away from the organisation having a positive experience. You've helped them to grow and develop, and you've improved the quality of care, which is the ultimate aim for us. Is care is often slated as concerns you see in the media all the time about quality of care, poor care. What can we do by all working together to drive up the quality of care and get the best outcomes for our service users and the people who access their service? And that ultimately, that's the aim for me. If I have staff that are able to give skilled intervention, they understand about communication, they understand about safeguarding, then I have better team and therefore a better organisation, and a better standing with the other stakeholders who work alongside me. So, you know, the Southampton Commissioning Group, the social work groups, the healthcare professionals. I'm just really keen. The more I can drive up the quality of our staffing, and ultimately in social care, you're only as good as your staff.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what makes the difference. So yeah, it's been really good. It's not always easy for them, I have to be honest. And so some people, it's a struggle for them, and we get a thing where sometimes people do really well. They're nearly at the end's in sight, and they just think, I just can't do the maths bit, or I just can't.
Yeah.
And it's just about reassuring and helping people and working together to get that through. And as I said to you before, we work really closely with a locally based training provider, and that's been invaluable because we've got that understanding and we can all work together to move that person forward. So, you know, I said to you earlier that I invigilated for someone the other day because of the pandemic. They're not able to come out, and the provider's not able to come out and do the actual invigilation. We could work together, sign it off and get that done, and still help the person to progress and develop. And there's someone who's rocketed through and now wants to do their next level 4. And that's the person I said to you earlier, has not been in education since 1986. So it's a real positive for me. And, you know, that's great. We want to see people achieve, we want to see people develop, you know, and I think as a manager, it's just part of your role is to help people to have the skills they need to do their job well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's really important that you have such a good relationship with the training provider. And I think that's a key element that we can put out there to other businesses considering apprenticeships, that having that good relationship with your training provider will make a difference when it comes to the success of your apprentices. So yeah, I think it's really important to put that point out there. So what would you say to a business who's watching this, who might consider taking on an apprentice just to get them over the line? What would you say to a business that might think about taking an apprentice?
I think the thing that helped me the most was understanding what resources are out there to help you. So historically, when I joined, I think they would put 1 or 2 people through on a training scheme at a time. However, I then went to a forum at Oakley Road about what's available to help providers, if you like. And there's all this funding available. You can approach the apprenticeship hub. And so what I was able to do then is kind of like, I thought, well, why doesn't everybody seize this opportunity? There's funding available. I've got people who I want to progress and develop. How many can I get through? So rather than it being an inconvenience where you can only afford to put 1 or 2 through, I secured, with your help, I secured the funding to get a cohort of learners to go through. That benefited us because they all learned together. We had a really strong link then with a training provider, and so we could strengthen our relationship there and get them all through. And that's benefited me hugely as an organisation, because the first thing it's done is reduce staff turnover, because people, if they're partway through an MVQ or partway through their qualification, they're unlikely to leave because they want to complete that, and they feel invested in. And I think that's the key thing. One of the, as I said a moment ago, one of the things for social care is quite often the poor relative. So we're never going to get huge hourly rates for staff just because that's not what's commissioned. But actually, what can we do in other ways that help people to progress and develop and get them on a career pathway? So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate. If you said to me you've got an employer that would like to just speak to us about our experiences, I'd be more than happy to talk to them and sort of, tell them what the benefits are. I mean, there's always a few challenges. You're going to have some people who start off wanting to learn and struggle a bit at the end, but actually, if we all work together, we can get them through, and then their sense of achievement is tenfold, really.
Brilliant. Yeah, I agree. And it applies to any business, not necessarily just care, like just offering your staff that opportunity to grow themselves as individuals. And like you said, they become invested because they are doing that qualification. So no matter what business you are, that's going to reduce your staff turnover, because that's it. There's an investment there. And much of what they learn is transferable skills. The maths and the English. Yeah. That's not limited to just this profession. Exactly. That goes across in any job. They're going to need improved, basic maths and English skills is invaluable. I think there's lots of transferable knowledge that they gain from being apprentices. Yeah, exactly. So last question, how would you say, or what has your experience with the apprenticeship hub been? So how have you found it? How did you've talked briefly about how you found out about us, but how's your experience been? And I'm very aware that's going to be mainly me. So, well, the main thing for us is your communication is really good. So actually,
I went to a meeting where they said, oh, there's this this apprenticeship hub exists. You can apply to get, you spoke and said you can apply to get funding, and we can support you to get more learners through. So that's all I needed. So it was a case of, oh, okay, well, I need to just link with you to find out more. First of all, your communication was excellent. You gave me lots of clear information. You helped me through the process to get the funding and get the learners on, and that was really good. And then as we've gone through, if you need more information or I need to evidence things for you as an organisation, you've been really clear about what's required. If I've got a query about what you're asking for, you're able to resolve that quickly. So it's not a challenge to get you what you need, proof that they're entitled to study or learn or work in this country, that sort of thing. And also at the same time, the fact that we've also got a training provider that's helping the learners through, you've been able to kind of link with them a little bit as well. Yeah. And that's made the process a bit easier. So there's a few things I thought, well, that's a bit more challenging, about the government website and how you access and release the funds. Yeah. But actually, you've never been more than an email or a phone call away. And so it's, well, actually, I'm not quite sure how to do that. Well, I know now, and that makes it easier. So, yeah, I think the Apprenticeship Hub's been excellent, easily contactable, great with the communication, advice and guidance, and that's what you need, and quick with the decisions as well. If you apply for funding but then you don't hear for a year, you kind of lose heart. Yeah. If you apply for the funding and you get a quick response, that's invaluable, because again, you've said to someone, oh, there's an opportunity for you to learn and do some study, and then if you don't come back to them for 3 or 4 months, you might have missed that window of opportunity. So I think sometimes responding quickly is key, and you've been brilliant at that, I have to say.